Now, United are close to agreeing their first transfer of the summer, with talks for Atalanta midfielder Ederson into their final stages. Sources expect the fee to be broken down into a £35 million guaranteed payment, plus £3 million in add-ons. A full agreement for the Brazilian could be reached by the end of the week.
Well, Manchester United are close to agreeing their first transfer of the summer, with talks for Atalanta midfielder Ederson in their final stages. Sources expect the fee to be broken down into a £35 million guaranteed payment plus £3 million in add-ons. A full agreement for the Brazilian could be reached by the end of the week. Here's how Ederson compares to the man he'll be replacing in Manchester United's midfield. Last season, Casemiro scored more, created more goals and chances. Great threat from set pieces, wasn't he? However, Ederson did have a better passing accuracy and dual success.
A Gordon transfer to Barcelona could really affect Marcus Rashford's future as well, couldn't it? The Manchester United forward has expressed his desire to stay at the new camp, but Barca are reluctant to meet his £26 million asking price. So this is how Gordon and Rashford compare in the league and Champions League this season. Gordon has 16 goals to Rashford's 13, but Rashford created 10 goals compared to just 4 for Gordon.
Now, Manchester United's latest financial results have revealed that sacking Ruben Amorim cost around £16.7 million. Amorim was dismissed in January after 14 months in charge. He still had a year and a half remaining on his contract, and the decision to let him go accounted for almost £17 million.
Window 19 days away. World Cup even less, so it is going to be a busy summer. But I think we're going to get a bit business in the next few days.
OK. What's going to happen? Where do you want to start?
Well, Ederson and Manchester United appears to be advancing, and at this stage, I would say Manchester United are the only club in the race. Atletico Madrid had looked a bit earlier in the window, but it looks like they're going to complete a deal before the World Cup for João Gomez from Wolves for a fee in the region of £40 million, and a similar kind of fee for Ederson, just under £40 million. And the clubs now are not far off a full verbal agreement, and Ederson has already agreed terms on a 5-year contract. So if Manchester United pull the trigger because they're weighing up lots of deals, then they can get that one as their first bit of business for the summer. And all signs at the moment point towards a club-to-club agreement imminent between Manchester United and Atalanta.
Has Michael Carrick made any noises of anyone going out?
Well, Manuel Ugarte, I think, could leave, but that's not going to be an overnight saga. The main reason for the midfield is due to needing a revamp anyway, coupled with the fact that Casemiro is departing, his wages off the books, which allows Manchester United with Champions League money to make a real play at more than one name. So my feeling is by the time the window ends, minimum 2 midfielders, but potentially even 3. And Manchester United started planning, of course, under Ruben Amorim, also thinking that Kobbie Mainoo was not going to be part of their long-term plans. That's gone to the other extreme now, so he's going to be a starter for Manchester United, and that's led them to feel that the Casemiro replacement is the most important signing, but there will be 2 midfielders. And I still think, along with Ederson, the second name to come in will have proven Premier League experience, and the only caveat to that is if Aurelien Tchouameni becomes available. But if you discount Tchouameni, Elliot Anderson, #1 target for Manchester United, but Manchester City are the favourites. Matthias Fernandes from West Ham United, the likes of Alex Scott, Carlos Baleba, Tyler Adams have all been looked at. And the commonality between many of these names is that they've all got that proven Premier League experience.
Yeah. Baleba is part of a set of Brighton players that De Zerbi is apparently interested in. What with Van Hecker and Verbruggen? What do you make of those rumours?
Yeah, I think Carlos Baleba could be on the move. The challenge for Tottenham is that Baleba's going to have some options with European football. The advantage for Spurs is that, perversely, by staying up and not being under financial fair play heading into the next cycle, they'll be able to spend a little bit bigger, because the new financial rules for the Premier League squad cost ratio allow a higher ratio of your revenue that you can then go on and spend on transfers. And in the first year of squad cost ratio, there's basically no punishments if you exceed the 85% by over 30%. So the long and short of it is you can actually spend up to 115% of your revenue on transfers if you're not in an FFP cycle, whereas if you're under FFP, you have to abide by the 70%. So Tottenham may look to maximise that. I do think they'll add a central midfielder. And in addition to that, they will be looking for a centre-back because Christian Romero is expected to depart. And you never know, a number 9...
Tried to depart last week.
Exactly, and he came back, but I don't think he'll be U-turning again. And for me as well, some of this is Tottenham wanting to move him on, whereas Mickey van der Ven, I'm told, is very happy under Roberto De Zerbi and could now sign a new deal. Luka Vuskovic is going to come back and is highly rated, but there's room for another centre-back, and it, of course, might be Marcos Senesi because there's a verbal agreement there, so Tottenham are quite confident on that deal. Andy Robertson is potentially going to join, but Juventus have made a late hijack to see whether they can change his mind about joining Tottenham. So Spurs are going to be busy, and remember the left wing as well, because they didn't quite address that in the summer, and there's still a chance that Spurs come back in for the Manchester City winger Savinho as well.
Rumours about Morgan Rogers and Anthony Gordon, two players who hopefully will have good World Cups.
Yeah, I think Anthony Gordon is going to be on the move come what may, and it's been crystal clear for some time.
Is that the player or is that the club needing to free up funds?
I think it's a mixture of Gordon wanting another opportunity, but also, as you say, Newcastle realising, a bit like Aston Villa with Morgan Rogers, that one big sale for Gordon, and they're in a much stronger position as far as Sandro Tonali or Bruno Guimaraes is concerned. So if I had to wager, I would say Tino Livramento and Anthony Gordon could go. Lewis Hall, question mark. And of course, there's lots of interest in Sandro Tonali, but there's a chance that Newcastle fight to keep. So regarding Gordon, it's fascinating because 2 weeks ago, Barcelona heard the asking price and said, we're just going to focus on Marcus Rashford. Now they've changed their mind, and only in the last 24 hours, Barca held a direct meeting with Newcastle, and they feel that Gordon's agent commission and his wage lower than Rashford. And as a consequence, even though the fee is higher for Anthony Gordon, it still could be good value. And whether they then went to still try and sign Rashford in addition remains to be seen. But Barca are focusing on Anthony Gordon now. He's keen on the move. The fee Barca would be prepared to pay is between 55 and 60 million pounds. Newcastle wants
and then you're one guy chasing. So there's a lot of flexibility in it. And so when I look at what Crystal Palace has been able to do under Oliver Glasner, it's challenge. Because they never feel like they're out of a game. They can beat a Manchester City in an FA Cup final. They can lose a Mark Gahey and still win a European Cup trophy. So I think he deserves to be in that upper echelon of clubs. Oliver Glasner should be in Champions League. That's where he, I think, fits. By the way, if you're a club chasing a European trophy, he's a candidate. If you're a club chasing, the top 4, he's a candidate. So he fits in a lot of different situations.
You know why the players do it? It's called South London pride, mate. That's what it is. South London pride.
That's part of that, of course.
That's all it is.
Do you think that the most disappointing things for the Oliver Glasner leaving at the end of the season is maybe as a fan, Jimmy, you can accept if a manager is moving on and he's got something lined up and you know where he's going and maybe it is a Champions League team. But in his situation, to be leaving and to kind of not be knowing exactly what's next, does it leave you thinking, is there any way that we can keep him? Or do you think because he came out and made such a big statement, because he was so frustrated with the club, he felt like he had to make
I'm sure winning these trophies turns his head for sure. Like, but I do have a special group of players, and maybe we can do something special in the Europa League next year. But because he came out pretty early and said, this is it, this is the end of my journey, I hope, has given the fans enough time to think, all right, what are we going to do next? Because you know, at times as fans, we get frustrated when ownership or front offices don't make decisions. He's given them more than enough time to find the next person. I'm just kind of curious.
By the way, Andoni.
Now, how about this? Some big news reaching us just now from our colleagues at Sky Germany regarding Andoni Iraola. They understand that Bayer Leverkusen are in direct negotiations with the outgoing Bournemouth boss about becoming their new head coach. Iraola has interest from AC Milan and Crystal Palace as well. But as it stands, it does not look like he will be taking over at either of those clubs. Sky in Germany reporting that Leverkusen are hoping to get Iraola's commitment quickly amid that rival interest. Leverkusen had also been monitoring Felipe Luis, the former Chelsea and Atletico Madrid fullback, but that deal is off. Reports say that he is set to take over at Monaco. So Iraola going to Bayer Leverkusen, that would be a huge blow, wouldn't it, for Crystal Palace? Iraola is their preferred option. The club are believed to have spoken to 5 potential candidates to replace Oliver Glasner this summer. Palace are ready to proceed with one of 2 options if Iraola does go elsewhere.
For us, it's a surprise, but we understand that Barca and Deco and Hansi Flick want this player, this profile, to execute the perfect attack of the team.
And in terms of the team, does he actually get into the team? Because Barcelona's front three is very good. Gordon can play left, right, or through the middle, but Barcelona seem well covered.
Yeah, it's a majestic play for Barca, because right now the club don't have the pressure to negotiate for the number 9. The priority right now is Julian Alvarez, but if Barca has a player as Gordon, the pressure is down, because at the beginning Gordon can play on the left, in the
Huge
center,
news is
or
exploding
on the
around
right
Manchester
as well.
United after reports confirmed the club have reached a full agreement on a £34 million deal for Enderson from Atalanta BC, and according to multiple reactions inside football, this could officially become the move that transforms Manchester United's entire midfield structure, because the club now appears fully committed to building a younger, faster and more aggressive core capable of competing with the intensity of modern elite football, and many supporters already believe this signing marks the official end of Casemiro's era as the dominant figure in midfield at Old Trafford. Now, what makes this transfer feel so important is not simply the fee or the excitement surrounding the player, but the clear message it sends about Manchester United's long-term direction, because for years the club relied heavily on experienced short-term fixes. However, this move strongly suggests the focus has now shifted toward building a sustainable, high-energy midfield designed for the future, and Enderson's profile fits exactly what many analysts believe the team has been missing: intensity, mobility, pressing ability and technical confidence under pressure. Now, Atalanta players, especially midfielders, have earned enormous respect across Europe due to their tactical discipline, physical aggression and ability to thrive inside demanding systems, and many supporters believe Enderson arrives perfectly prepared for the pace and pressure of Premier League football, because his style already matches the aggressive modern approach elite clubs now require. Now, naturally, the conversation immediately turned toward Casemiro, because despite his leadership experience and winning mentality, there is growing recognition that Manchester United must evolve physically if they want to consistently challenge the best teams in England and Europe again. While Casemiro still offers intelligence, positioning and big game personality, there have been multiple matches this season where the speed and intensity of transitions exposed major problems in midfield balance, and many analysts believe the club finally decided the time for change could no longer be delayed. Now, tactically, this move could completely reshape the way Manchester United play, because pairing Enderson with players like Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes potentially gives the team a midfield capable of mixing creativity, energy, pressing, resistance and technical quality at a much higher level than recent seasons, and supporters are already imagining how much more aggressive, dynamic and difficult United could become against elite opposition if this midfield transformation succeeds. Now, another major reason fans are excited is because this signing feels like part of a bigger rebuild rather than an isolated transfer, because Manchester United clearly understand that returning to the top requires more than individual stars. It requires structure, balance and players capable of sustaining intensity across entire matches, and rebuilding the midfield is often the most important part of modern football success, because control,